My name's Ken Norton. I'm the head of sales for LandInsight. My colleague Grace will be coming on in a moment. It's probably best if I tell you a bit more about LandInsight before we begin. I joined the company 2 years ago when there was 8 people in the business. We're now up to 48, and we're recruiting for another 40 people at the moment. So we're really, really high growth in numbers. We've built a very, very positive team environment as well. It's really important to have a great culture in a company if you're looking to attract really, really good talent. In terms of revenue, we grew by 1,000% in 2017, and we grew by 300% in revenue last year. Are on track to do 300% again this year. So the reason that we're growing so fast is that we isolated a big problem in the market, and that is helping developers source and assess development sites. What would normally take hours and hours for them to do, we're actually able to combine it and to do it in minutes. Grace has launched a new product called LandEnhance, which actually speeds up the whole process of getting planning success as well. So in terms of the business, we're growing really fast. We work with approximately 1,000 companies at the moment, helping them source, assess, and get planning success on their properties. In terms of the industry as a whole, KPMG did their annual PropTech review, and it really gives some quality insights in terms of where we are as an industry. 97% of people know that PropTech is going to have an impact on their business. 73% think it's going to be a good impact. But really the figure that's quite enlightening is 66% don't have a clear vision or a strategy on how PropTech is actually going to assist in their strategy. And I think that's really, really enlightening that 66% of companies still don't know what they're going to be doing with PropTech. When we talk about PropTech, we look at it kind of like on an individual basis. So how's it going to affect my business? But I also think, you need to understand how's it going to affect the competitor landscape that you operate in as well. There's been some great advances in opening data or democratizing big data and technology. But really, everybody all knows that. It's really, how's it going to affect your strategy? So when we sit down with clients, the most important thing that we do is we map out their workflows and understand where the efficiencies are that we can provide are at each stage of that workflow. And it's to make our clients more proactive, not only in their search for sites, but also their assessments. And it's really that kind of efficiency that we're bringing to our clients that is really, really driving our business forward. But just before I get into an example at the moment, it's worth mentioning that in terms of property, all the data is essentially out there, okay? It's just how you're actually digesting it and where you're getting that information from. The old way of getting sites, through your network or, being really reactive and waiting for agents to bring sites to you, our clients are starting to develop strategies that actually circumnavigates that and is getting direct to the freeholder immediately. So the example that I'm going to bring on, first of all, is just taking one data set from LandInsight. You can search for every single property across England and Wales on LandInsight, but what we're going to do is we're just going to look at barns. So very quickly, let's say I'm a property developer. I want to see where all the barns are in the UK. We're able to see that the majority are down in Cornwall. So second of all, there you are, Cornwall at the top. Then second of all, I really want to be more opportunistic and look for barns that were refused PD prior to the changes in permitted development that went live last year. And again, you can see Cornwall is number 2, ranked at number 2. So what you can do is enable our clients to look really, really methodically in terms of where geographically they're looking for development opportunities and start to align their strategies to that. Once you find the site, so we're going to focus on Cornwall, but once you find that property, very quickly you're able to understand what are the constraints, what are the policy restrictions on the site. You're able to work out the pounds per square foot, so we've got nationwide comparable evidence. You're also able to understand who owns all those properties. So within a couple of minutes, let's say 1,000 barns down in Cornwall, you'd be able to save them onto LandInsight and then interrogate each and every single one and understand the viability of those sites. We've kind of made it as easy as possible, or the UX on the system. We've got quite a few UX designers to make it as easy as possible to extract and locate this data on the platform. I mentioned that we're growing really fast. Just before I pass you on to Grace, we had a recent testimonial from one of our clients, and that was that to do business without LandInsight would be like doing business without the internet. So I'll pass you over to Grace now.
Cool. Thanks, Ken. So as Ken mentioned, I am... There we go. Yeah, I'm heading up a new part of the company called LandEnhance. So my background is in town planning. And as a planner, we're really looking at how we can take all the data that's out there and enable planning to be more proactive. So essentially turn the data that's there, and as you know, if you are planners in the room or people who work within the property sector, obviously there's a huge amount of different data sets out there. And we want to turn that data into insight. And by doing that, we're looking at machine learning techniques where we're looking at being able to extract frequency reference policies from decision notices that will really help to indicate where you should sort of like start to target certain areas for development. And in doing that, one of the key things that will happen is you can start to be more sort of like target councils more strategically. So looking at which councils prefer a certain type or size of development, and understanding then which areas you should really be focusing your applications or site searching based on what you're looking to achieve. And also, one of the things we're keen to do is bring it much more easily accessible to get access to the data that's there in terms of decisions that are out there, and so you can find precedents and actually understand really useful bits of information to help you build a really strong and robust case. So obviously, the biggest thing with this is data. Data allows us to be more proactive. There's a huge amount of data out there, but we want to make it more accessible. As we're talking about data, we thought we'd just show a little example here. So what we've done here is plotted something that everyone's always interested in, the average decision time for a successful planning application, put along with the kind of volume of applications that a local authority is dealing with. So as you can see here, everything that's in this sort of blue quadrant is somewhere that they're processing a high volume of applications and determining them quite quickly. I mean, I say quite quickly because obviously planning is generally quite slow. I can say that as a planner. But Croydon is one that is doing quite well. So we take a bit of a deeper look into Croydon. Nothing particularly, new here. It's sort of like, it's taken on average 13 weeks to approve decisions, takes slightly longer to reject decisions that are slightly larger. And as we're in Birmingham today, we are going to have a quick look at Birmingham as well. Here it paints a slightly different picture, but what it's also still showing is that, it's taking longer to approve applications than rejected on the slightly larger schemes. But when it becomes really interesting is when we compare the two together. And this is where you can start looking at the useful bits of information that actually can help you target. So if you are a developer or a planner that wants to be doing larger schemes, looking at this, you could say, well, actually, Croydon are permitting those schemes in about half the amount of time as Birmingham. So perhaps that's an area of focus that you should look into. Flipping it around the other way, Birmingham are approving them slightly quicker than Croydon if you're doing smaller units. So an area of, and then with this is obviously just one data set you can look at. We're also looking, you can overlay information on demographics, see if that pulls out information like new infrastructure projects. And one thing that we're keen to show, obviously with my planning hat on, is that, the planning system needs to go a long way in terms of improving transparency. And one thing that we're looking at overlaying is data on how many of these applications are actually decided by an officer or how many are by a committee, and how many of those at committee are voted for against, like the committee vote against an officer recommendation and then go to appeal, but are then one on appeal. It's all things that help you kind of paint a picture as in like what is the appetite and the type, or really kind of like the way decisions are being made in that local authority, which might steer which authorities is better for you to work in. Moving back from, obviously, that was just a bit of a snapshot of how the data can help. So obviously, at LandEnhance, we're keen to show that the data will help you be more proactive. One of the key things will be that planning assessments can be a lot quicker, which therefore means you can add value to your clients in a different way. But I think one of the biggest things that's different to how we kind of have approached work in the past is actually looking at planners can now start identifying sites themselves. So they can look at, not just finding sites that work in sort of like the right size and the right location, but also identifying authorities that potentially will be more likely to permit a certain type of development, and then take that development to a developer, essentially doing their own business development and flipping it around the other way rather than waiting for clients to bring you sites and then you do the planning work for them. So just moving back to what Ken mentioned at the beginning in terms of how do you incorporate PropTech into your business strategies. Obviously, as that KPMG study showed, 66% of people understand that it's going to have an impact, but they're not sure how that's going to impact their own business strategy and vision. So I wanted to leave you with 3 key things about what to think about when you're looking at the right PropTech for your own businesses. So the first one is about integration. So you think about how the PropTech product will integrate with your existing systems, also with other products. As you know, as more products come onto the market and develop, you need to work out how they will best work together so that you get the optimum out of them. The next thing to think about, which is really important, is customer support and training. So all of these products will have been built with, as Ken mentioned, incredible UX. They'll be very intuitive, they'll be very user-friendly, but it doesn't mean that you should overlook the importance of the training that you would get to make sure that those products, you can optimize how they work within your business and get the most out of it for you. Another thing to think about is also don't compromise on data protection and security. Obviously, GDPR came out last year. You want to make sure that this doesn't have a negative impact on your business. And one other thing that's not up here, but just wanted to mention, is often when you're looking at PropTech products and you're weighing them up, you look at the number of features that are there. A bit like when you're buying a car or choosing a holiday, you gravitate to the one that's got the most features, thinking this is going to be the best for me. Actually, what you shouldn't be looking at is the number of features, but the benefits that that product is going to provide to you. And look at, if that product provides enough of those benefits with just a couple of features that's going to really enable your business to operate much better, then that is crucial. So think about the benefits over the features. And so, just lastly, just ending on that in terms of also, as Ken mentioned, you've got the workflow stages. So think about not trying to encompass every PropTech product out there. There's lots on the market now. In the next 5 years, the landscape will change massively. But think about each stage of your business and how you can be more proactive and what is out there to really help you achieve that. Thank you. And I'm conscious that we haven't really kind of demoed our products. So if anyone's interested in seeing LandInsight or LandEnhance in action, come and speak to Ken and I during one of the breaks. Cool. Thank you.